Hey, this is Daniel Betts with Greenbrier Music. Today I'm here at our owner Steven's house. We're miking up his personal kit for him to shoot a couple of drum solos, so we figured we'd do a quick video on some basic drum set miking technique. I've already gotten started here with a couple of toms. Our current limitations are our interface, where we can only use 8 mics. And if you look at the kit, it's pretty big, so we're going to have to make a few compromises. The first of which being something that's pretty standard in miking drums, or a huge drum set, is miking every other tom. You see down here I've got a mic positioned right between these two toms, between the two floor toms. You want it at a little bit of an angle. You don't want to keep the drum mic flush with the drums. You want it kind of angled down at the heads just a little bit. Of course, we are also limited by the placement of cymbals and such, so we're going to try to get these right in between the two drums and down at an angle. The reason for that is that way we can get the attack of the stick hitting the drum and not just the tone of the drum itself. So for the kick drum, there's a couple of different ways to look at it. Some people like to place a mic like an SM57 on a pillow in the middle of the drum, or there's another popular mic for that at Beta 91. Other people put a mic right in the center of the outside resonant head, and then also you can put a mic right in the hole cut into the front of the drum, or a combination of the three. Very popular is the combination of the first one and the third one I talked about, putting a mic on the inside and then miking the hole in the front of the drum. Because of limitations with the amount of tracks we can record, I'm going to do a bit of a hybrid. I'm going to put we're using an Onyx D6 just inside of the resonant head hole and angle the mic towards where the beater would hit on the batter side of the kick drum. And that way hopefully we can get some of the tone of the drum as well as the attack of the beater hitting the head. So miking cymbals or doing an overhead mic setup is another thing where you have a ton of different options. Steve's kit, I don't know, looks like it has like 12, 14 cymbals on it. So what I've decided to do is kind of cluster mic them. We're using a Shure SM94 to kind of mic this cluster of cymbals, and another Shure SM54 on the other side of the kit to mic that cluster of cymbals. Another way to do it, if you have a lot of money and a lot of mics, is to mic 2 or 3 cymbals at a time, and then have 2 really nice large diaphragm condensers up high to get a nice stereo picture of the whole kit. But today, like I said, given our limitations, we're just sticking with miking 2 different clusters. And that's something really to remember when you're doing recording. Unless you're in like a super pro studio with a near unlimited budget, maybe you're in just your basement recording, you're always going to have some set of limitations. So what separates the recordings you make from the guy 2 streets down recording in his basement studio is how you adapt to those limitations. And another one we're facing right now is with the snare drum. Let me show you how we're going to overcome it. So typically with the snare drum, you'd want to place a mic kind of angled in like this. But as you can see from Steve's setup, it's really tight, and the mics we have to work with are these larger SM57s, so I couldn't work one in. Now, in most of the recordings you hear on the radio, the snare drum is dual mic'd. You have a mic on the top for the top head, and then you have a mic down here on the bottom, so you can really get that nice snare rattle. Now this time around, just because of the setup that we have to work with, I'm just going to mic the bottom head, and then when I work the EQ on the 2 overhead mics, I'm going to make sure I leave enough of that mid-range in there to capture that top snare head sound. So again, a compromise, but like I said, we're always working with compromises. And this, I feel like we're going to get the best sound out of this kit. When you're miking the bottom head, you want to leave the mic about an inch and a half away from the head, and not directly beneath the snares, kind of just off to the side of the snares. That way it's not too much rattle.